every day. All right, so I'm sitting over here and I'm thinking to myself, we have a little bit of a problem. There are two of you and one of these. So what are we going to do?
Like four-handed. How about age?
Age before beauty.
You got it. And the beast.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Aladdin Development. Well, hello, Richard.
Oh, okay.
Very happy to be among my family again. The Disney folks, that's all my family.
I hope you do that. There we go. Perfect.
I want to be able to see everybody. These guys over here and these guys over here. So, good to be with you, Tim.
Good to be with you.
It's great.
How many of you have joined us before? Well, we're going to throw a few new wrinkles into this, but you know, we were talking backstage. Let's start with, you referred to her as your good luck charm.
My lucky star. There was a lovely young lady. She was 15 years old. She stepped up to a microphone and she sang a little rocker back in 1958, long before many of you were born. And it was Annette Funicello. She had the last of the graduates of the Musketeers show, and they decided to give her some rock and roll songs to sing because she still was very, very popular. And so they heard a little ditty my brother Bob and I wrote, and she made a recording of it, and it started the Sherman Brothers really with Disney. And I'll sing that in honor of my dear, dear friend, Annette Funicello. Right on the wall, everybody knows it. I love Paul, Paul, he's mine. Chalk on the sidewalk, chalk on the sidewalk, niches on a tree, niches on a tree. Everybody knows it, everybody knows it. Paul loves me. Paul with the king-size arms. Paul with the king-size charms. Paul with the king-size kiss. He's my all.
Now, if you're of a certain age, like, you had a crush on Annette, and I love those old Annette Funicello record albums that had themes, and they had the novelty songs on them, like, what was it, Pineapple Princess.
Pineapple Princess. So yes, Pineapple Princess was from an album which we worked on called Hawaiianette. One word, clever stuff. Hawaiianette. And actually what we did was we wrote several songs and then we took some standards and made an album package. And it was a big, big seller. And I'll give you a little bit of Hawaiianette. What was it? Pineapple Princess. That's it. I saw a boy on a Wahoo Island, floating down the bay on a crocodile. He waved at me and he swam ashore, and I knew he'd be mine forevermore. Pineapple Princess, he calls me Pineapple Princess all day as he plays his ukulele on the hill of the bay. Pineapple Princess, I love you, you're the sweetest girl I've seen. Someday we're gonna marry and you'll be my pineapple queen. The next time it was a big hit, so they said, do another one. So we did an Italian-themed album, and it was called Italianette. And then we did a third one about dance music. We did Danceanette. And one day Annette said to us, what are you going to do next? Bassinette? And Kiss, what was it? A kitchenette. She was out of the house one day, kitchen, but we didn't do any more of those. That was enough of them.
When you got to kitchenette, you have to end it. Yeah, you're over.
Peanut butter.
So let's talk about another little teenage idol that you worked with. Her name was Hayley Mills.
Oh, Hayley. wonderful Hayley was an incredible actress. And oh, the trouble with that was we'd written some songs for a film called The Parent Trap. You might know and it was there was going to be a sequence where Hayley and Hayley, the two Haleys, would sing a duet together called Let's Get Together. It was kind of a subtle, subtle hint for the parents to get together. They were a divorced family. So basically, we had this recording session, and Hayley was very hesitant. She was very afraid about doing anything. And I realized that she was not happy, so I said, what's the matter here? And she said, well, I'm an actress, I'm not a singer. And I said, but you are a wonderful actress. Well, she says, thank you. I said, why don't you act like you're a singer? She said, I can do that, I can do that. And she came out with a minute seller. Oh, I really think you're swell. Really ring the bell. Ooh-wee. And if you stick with me, it could be great to say, hey, alligator. Together, yeah, why don't you and I come down? Let's get together, what do you say? We could have swim time, we'd be a great team. Why don't we make a scene? Let's get together, yeah.
So you don't have to write two songs for Hayley, just one.
She sang the Pooh song picture, she sang both parts.
Yeah.
She just split herself in half. I don't know how to do it. Disney has this magical trick they can do.
Well, now, speaking of novelty songs, you wrote for Annette those novelty songs, and then you would get weird, strange assignments. Like you had an assignment to write a song about color.
Oh, yes, indeed. Walt was on the Great Dairy. Yeah, you saw that.
They see all of this coming, Richard.
It's my family, I told you. But actually, Walt was going to do something very daring. Television back in 1961 was pretty much all black and white. There was no color television. But Walt was going to switch from ABC to CBS, or to NBC, that's it. And he was going to come up with a whole series of color telecasts, color shows. And he gave us the assignment of writing a song about color. That's a weird assignment. You know, you can write about a lot of things, but just color. So we came up with the song called The Wonderful World of Color. And it became the actual theme song of the show for many, many years. And it went up, it was a whole male choir, mixed choir sang it. And it went like this. Color, color, color. The world is a carousel of color. Wonderful, wonderful color. The blue sea, the red star rose, the gold morning sun in the sky, the glorious vision of a rainbow, the bright autumn leaves on the ground. There's beauty untold that's ours to behold in a wonderful world of color. Memories of Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. Now, did you have, I mean, this is a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Back in, what was that, 61? 61 or something like that? Could you imagine that almost 50 years later, it would be the theme song of a spectacular show at Disneyland? Who would have thunk it? It's amazing. No, I feel very thrilled about so many things that we've done at Disney. They became timeless because the Disney magic is on them. And like many times, people write songs for projects, shows, movies, and they're forgotten. They're used once and never again. But with Disney, it stays. It keeps going back and back and back. And that's one of the great blessings of writing for Disney. It really is.
Now, we were talking about these novelty songs and strange assignments. One time you got an assignment to tell the story of something being ugly.
Oh, yeah. There's a film we did for Disney called The Summer Magic. Summer Magic. And it started a wonderful folk singer named Burl Ives, a great actor and singer. And I was a big fan of Burl Ives. He's a great performer. And we came up with a little idea for him. He was going to sing a song called The Ugly Bug Ball. And it was a cute idea. We liked it. It was kind of ragtime. It gave us a chance to write a different style than we usually wrote. And it was kind of marvelous. And Bob and I were tickled, except one day Walt said to us, you know, I don't like the word ugly. It's a negative word, and I think it sets me off. I'm not too happy. It's not the song, I just don't like the word ugly. And we were really kind of worried about it, and Bob came up, my brother, thank God, he came up and he said, Walt, a rhinoceros, a guy rhinoceros, looks at a girl rhinoceros and says, she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You know, and Walt said, well, if we can get that into the script. So basically what happened, Sally Benson, who was the scriptwriter, wrote something of that into it, so we get to do Ugly Bug Ball. And I love that song, so I'm going to play that for you now. It's in ragtime. Once a lonely caterpillar sat and cried to a sympathetic beetle by his side. I've got nobody to hug, I'm such an ugly bug. Then a spider and a dragonfly replied, if you're serious and want to win a prize, come along with us to the glorious annual Ugly Bug Ball. Come on, let's crawl to the Ugly Bug Ball, and the happy time we'll have there, one and all. Then our caterpillar saw a pretty queen. She was beautiful, yellow, black, and green. He said, would you care to dance? That dancing led to romance. Then she sat upon his caterpillar knees, and he gave his caterpillar queen a squeeze. Soon their honeymoon built a big cocoon, thanks to the Ugly Bug Ball. Come on, let's crawl, to the Ugly Bug Ball, to the ball, and a happy time we'll have there. One and all at the annual Ugly Bug Ball.
Now, there's a special little bear that Walt's a great,
Oh, yes,
you have a great affection for.
I love this little guy. Actually, we were given a wonderful assignment. An English author by the name of A.A. Mills. Some incredible, delightful stories with wonderful characters, all about the stuffed teddy bear and his friends. And he wrote this for his little boy, Christopher Robin. And we had the great honor of being asked to write the music for that original Winnie the Pooh series. And so I'll play the title song, which I just love. Deep in the 100-acre wood, where Christopher Robin plays, you'll find the enchanted neighborhood of Christopher's childhood days. A donkey named Eagle is his friend, and Kanka and Little Roo. There's Rabbit and Piglet, and there's Owl. But most of all, Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. Tubby little cubby all stuffed with fluff. He's Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. Cubby. Willie, thank you, Willie. Nilly said, I know, Winnie the Pooh. Tubby little cubby all stuffed with fluff. He's Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. Willie, nilly, silly old bear.
Did you catch everybody singing, not only singing along, but as you were doing, Winnie the heads were going on?
I feel like mistaken because I blacked out on that line. Really never silly old bear. It's a clever line.
I know a genius that came up with that.
Blame Bob, I think that time. I didn't write that one. I wrote the other one. I wrote Tommy Little Copyright stuff. Then he wrote Willie Nilly Samuel Bell. We all split the copyrights into that one.
Oh, the secret is out. The secret's out.
We always did collaborate on words and music. Bob and I would sit there and tough it out together. And after all the blood was let, we'd have a song.
So, one of my favorite segments of one of the Pooh feature acts is when Pooh does his stoutness exercises.
Oh, stoutness exercise, right? Well, actually, you know, he exercises for different reasons than you or I. We want to lose a few pounds, tone up the muscles. Not Pooh. He has his own reasons. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up. When I up, down and touch the ground, it puts me in the mood. Up, down and touch the ground, in the mood for food. When I up, down and touch the ground, I think of things to chew, like honey, milk, chocolate, with a hefty, happy appetite. I'm a hefty, happy Pooh.
Now, this next character we want to talk about, you have been described as being just like this character.
Me?
Yes, you.
A stuffed tiger? Hi? Everybody knows that a stuffed tiger isn't a tiger.
What is he?
What is he? His tears are wonderful things. Their tops are made out of rubber. Their bottoms are made out of string. Bouncy, 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 bouncy. Tears is our tears are wonderful fellas. Tears are awfully sweet. Everyone else is jealous. And that's why I repeat and repeat the wonderful thing about tears. These tears are marvelous chaps. They're not the vim and the vigor. They love to leave in your ass. They're bumpy, jumpy, clumpy, bumpy, fun, 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 fun. But the most wonderful thing about tears is I'm the only one. I'm the only one.
So, you know, Tigger's bouncy, flouncy, all of that.
Bouncy, flouncy,
Bouncy, flouncy. And you're pretty bouncy, flouncy, too.
Oh.
And what birthday did you just celebrate?
I just celebrated my 85th birthday.
Tigger's doing great. Now, there was another film that you did that I know is one of your personal favorites, and that would be The Jungle Book.
Oh, I love that.
And recently, that film has been turned into a stage show, a highly acclaimed stage show.
Oh, I'm very excited.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, Jungle Book was a great assignment because, see, Rudyard Kipling, the great English author, had written a marvelous book called Jungle Book, and it was a very serious, dark story. It had a lot of mysterious things in it and grisly things that took place in the jungle. And Walt fell in love with the storyline, but he didn't like the tone, the attitude of it. And originally there was a series of entire screenplay created for it, and Walt rejected it out of hand. He didn't like it, but he wanted to do the story. So he asked several of us to come into his office one morning, and I remember the story men there were the directors and background people and all, and then Bob and I were the songwriters on the staff, so we were there, of course. And he said, how many of you fellas have read Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book? And not a hand was raised. It was like being at school and you didn't do the assignment, you know, you couldn't raise your hand. And he said, great, I'm glad you didn't do that because I don't want you to read that book. I'm going to tell you the story. And he did. The greatest storyteller of the last century by far was Walt Disney himself. He told the story. And he told us that morning how he wanted to see Jungle Book. And he became the different characters. He became Baloo the bear. He became the king of the apes. And he became all these wonderful characters. And all of a sudden we were nuts about this story. We had to tell it right. And so one of the assignments, he said, take the scariest, grimmest story and have fun with it.
One of the things that we talked about backstage, actually, you were going on and on about how much you love the stage show, this new stage show, The Jungle Book.
It's just wonderful. They've taken the score, the original score, plus Terry Gilbert's song, which I always take bows for, and I didn't write, and that's The Bare Necessities. It's a great song. The one song we didn't write in the picture, but all the rest of the songs are Bob's and mine. And that score, plus new additional songs that Bob and I had written for a sequel, plus a few other things, are fattened out into this big stage production. And it looks so great. They're a wonderful live cast, and I'm very excited about it. It'll be touring. I'm sure it'll be coming to these.
But we were talking, you kind of focused on the Vultures song.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of your favorite songs in the film, and they do it in the play as well.
Yeah, now there we were signed to do a song that these vultures, vultures, they wait till something's dead, then they eat them, they eat the carrion. And it's kind of a grisly thing, so we decided, let's not do that kind of vultures. We'll have friendly vultures. We'll have vultures that want to be nice. And there's a little entendre in it. We did it as a barbershop quartet. So you've got to imagine a barbershop quartet with slightly Liverpudlian accents singing this thing. When you're alone, who comes around to pluck you up when you are down? And when you're outside looking in, who's there to open the door? That's what friends are for, and who's always eager to extend a friendly claw. That's what friends are for, and when we're lost in dire need, who's at your side at lightning speed? We're friends with every creature coming down the pike. In fact, we've never met an animal we didn't like. Didn't like, you got it. So you can see our friends in need, and friends in need, our friends indeed, will keep you safe in the jungle forevermore. That's what friends are for.
And you and Bob really worked with some of the show business greats, two of them being Louis Prima, the great jazz man, and Phil Harris.
That's right, two great performers.
Now, tell us about the recording session for the terrific song "I Want to Be Like You." How'd that go?
Well, that was a wonderful thing. Actually, Bob and I had written this song, The King of the Apes. We got the idea for him to be the king of the swingers because we were discussing what does an ape really do? When he grunts, he goes, like that a lot. And he also swings in a tree. And I remember sitting there, we were talking about what are we going to write for this guy? And as soon as the word swings in a tree came out, he said, he's the king of the swingers, not just the king of the apes, the king of the swingers, and his marauding monkey friends, they're his band. So we really got the thing, and then we cast it with Louis Prima and Sam Butera and the witnesses, this great group of jazz men, and they were marvelous. And then Phil Harris played Baloo, and so we said we'll have a sequence where Baloo and the King of the Apes sing together. And we never could get the two of them together. So that's the story moment. So actually what happened was we recorded just Louis Prima and Sam Butera filled in one place where they're doing the sketch singing. That's the double talk sound words. And Scooby-Doo, Ree-Bam-Naza, that kind of thing. And we just did the aping of it, and then that was just Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo. And Phil Harris, about 4 months later, when he finally got into the studio, was listening to I can't sing that, that's not my kind of work, I can't do that. Willie Ryderman, our director, came out and said, Phil, look, do what you want to do, but just answer. He said, oh, now do that. And it became the most hilarious thing I've ever heard. So they're having a conversation in double talk. And I can't do all of that, but I'll give you an idea of what the song sounds like. I'm the king of the swingers, golden jump VIP. I've reached the top and had a stop, and that's what's bothering me. Now I want to be a man cub and stroll right into town and be just like the other men. I'm tired of monkeying around and saying, ooh, I want to be like you. I want to walk like you, talk like you too. You'll see it's true, and ain't like me. Can't learn to be. All the mannerisms will be your twins. No one will know And he like he can learn to be human too. Can learn to be human too. One more time. Can learn to be human too. I wanna be like you.
Some of us fumble getting a sentence out, and then he does this. Another great that he worked with was the great French song stylist Maurice Chevalier.
Oh, yeah.
And the Aristocats, on the Aristocats.
Right, actually, wonderful. Maurice Chevalier was the #1 French performer in the world. He was world famous. And I do history with that. My father was a songwriter, and he wrote big hits for Maurice Chevalier back in the 30s. He had a big hit called Living in the Sunlight, Loving in the Moonlight. That was my daddy's song. And I grew up listening to records of Maurice Chevalier. I used to love the sound of his voice and his personality. And then one day we got a chance with Walt to write some songs for his pictures, and we did the In Search of the Castaways, Monkeys Go Home. We wrote special songs for those pictures. And then came the Aristocats. By this time, this was like early 1970, 71, Maurice had retired. He was getting up there, and he wasn't going to do any more. And our director of the film, Willie Ryderman, actually, was the one that said, "Dick, you do that imitation of Chevalier. Why don't you make a demo of the way he sings it, and we'll send it to him. Maybe he'll come out of retirement for this purpose." And I said, I can't do an imitation for Chevalier here. He said, "Look, listen to me, do it that way, it'll be good." So I said, okay. So I'll give you a little sample of what I did for the Aristocats song, and I'll tell you the results afterwards, okay? He speaks at the base, he's the finest in Valley. He gets for this, the finest pedigree. So let's do the others, take their axe, that's very long, the Aristocats. That's all I'm gonna do for you. All the verses and all, and sent it off to Chevalier. Sure enough, he came out of retirement and he sang the main title and the end title of the song in English and French. It was wonderful. My wife and I happened to be in Paris about 3.5, 4 months after he recorded the song. And we were just coming out of a hotel, and there he was. Maurice and some people, and I said, "Maurice, Richard Sherman, remember?" "Oh, yes, I remember you, of course." I said, "Well, my brother Bob and I are so thrilled that you did this recording, and it sounds so great and everything. Everybody in the studio is excited about it." And he said, "Well, thank you." He said, I love going to Disney, and I did this for Walt Disney, and it's a very nice song." I said, "Well, thank you so much." And I said, "But there's one thing that bothers me. I did this terrible, thick, phony French accent on the album, on the record, and I apologize for that." He looked me right in the eye and said, "Accent? I heard no accent."
I like that little peduncle you just did here. Well, now, how many of you grew up on the film Bedknobs and Broomsticks? There's a song in that score that's very special to you. And tell us, and it was nominated for an Oscar. Tell us about it.
Actually, we were at the studio, and Walt had passed on, and we were back. We had come back into the studio after being away for a while, and we were asked to do some more songs for Bedknobs. They were about to shoot the film, and they needed a couple of sequences. And there was one place where a song was needed for the heroine, Eglantine Price, to sing about a little Doubting Thomas, a little boy who didn't believe in magic, he didn't believe in anything, he was very disenchanted with life. And we were trying to think of what are we going to write about? And we were saying, Walt isn't here anymore, and we used to always bounce our songs off of Walt first. We played it for him, and then he'd say, "Yeah, that'll work." That was our big praise. "Yep, that'll work." And we had it in the film. But in this case, we didn't have any Walt Disney to tell us. And so I remember one of us said, "Well, we got to start depending on ourselves because We got to believe in ourselves. It's as simple as that. And I said, this little boy was going through the age of not believing. Oh yeah, but once you start believing in yourself, then you can do things. So we wrote this little song, and I'm very fond of it. When you rush around in hopeless circles, searching everywhere for something true, you're at the age of not believing, when all the make-believe is through. When you set aside your childhood heroes and your dreams are lost upon a shelf, you're at the age of not believing, and worst of all, you doubt yourself. You're a castaway where no one hears you, on a barren isle in a lonely sea. Where did all the happy endings go? Where can all the good times be? You must face the age of not believing, doubting everything you ever knew, until at last you start believing there's something wonderful, truly wonderful in you.
Now let's talk about the Disney parks a little bit.
The Disney parks, I've heard of those. I think we're in one of them right now.
And I'd like you to tell them the story. You've told me this before. There was a night that you and Elizabeth, your wife Elizabeth, happened to be at Disneyland. Tell us that story.
It's a very touching story. Bob and I have been on the staff for about 3 years, and we had a pass. We could get into Disneyland anytime we wanted. And my wife Elizabeth and I were at the park one night, very late, and we had this most wonderful day. We'd done all the rides, and it was just great. And at the end of the day, we just lingered on Main Street just before going out the old exit when we used to go out and park lot was back there. And we saw some singular figure, practically empty park, and one figure was just walking down the road, looking into the windows of the stores. And I said, well, that's Walt, honey. Let's tell him how much fun we had tonight. So we waited for him to come, and we said, oh, Dick, Elizabeth. And we were talking for a minute, and I said, well, we just want you to know we had the most wonderful day today. It was just incredible. And at the end, when Tinkerbell was flying across the sky, and the music was playing, and the skyrockets were going on, I just started to cry like a baby. It was happy tears, but they were just coming out of my eyes. And he said, you know, I do it every time. And I just thought it was right. He said, right there when you go home, you're on the top of the fire station there. And I dearly remember that because he just loved the park. He loved the things in it. He loved what it symbolized. He loved what it meant. You know, there are happy endings. There's a good world out there. Nice, positive things. He was a very positive man.
This year happens to be the 50th anniversary of the very first song you wrote for Disney Park.
Walt had a hobby, and we thought it was a hobby. He had a thing he was very proud of, and he used to bring VIPs down to one of the sound stages. And in the corner of this sound stage was like a jungle room. And they would come in and they would see this thing that was going on. It was called audio animatronics. You know about them now, but not 50 years ago. And people would see orchids singing and birds, you know, standing on perches singing, and tiki torches going, and all of a sudden it would rain, and they would see this show that they were creating for the Enchanted Tiki room, and they would say, it's great, Walt, what the heck is it? You know, that's what they would say. And so we were called down one day to this room, and we were sitting on bridge chairs, I remember that, and the show started, and down came this cascade of birds singing, let's all sing like the birdies sing, and we're listening to this thing, and at the end, when the rain stopped and everybody was happy again, we said, Walt, it's great. What is it? And he looked right at us and said, you guys are going to write me a song that's going to explain all of it. And so we said, yeah, okay, well, Walt, you have to believe. We're going to write lyrics, you have to believe. It's too bad you don't have a parrot. He thought for about half a second. He said, we won't have one parrot, we'll have 4 parrots. We'll have a Dutch parrot, we'll have a German parrot, we'll have a Spanish parrot. He was going through a whole conception. And he said, what kind of a song are you going to write? So we looked around and it was kind of a tropical room, a tropical song, calypso. So he said, yes, calypso. And what's it going to be called? Well, Enchanted TV Room was a bit of a nothing title. It's a good title for the place, but it's song title, no. But Tiki is a great word. And if you're a songwriter and you hear words like Tiki, it's kind of good. And so I remember thinking, Tiki, 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 that's a great sound, Tiki, Tiki, Tiki. How about we call it the Tiki, Tiki, Tiki Room? He says, that's it, when am I going to have a song? I need it. With that, we wrote the following songs that have been playing now for 50 years. And we just
Oh, they know this song. I'm sure they'll sing along.
I wish you would. Welcome to a tropical hideaway, you lucky people, you. If we were to get the show started right away, we'd be in the audience too. Everybody in the tiki room, in the tiki room. All the birds sing words and the flowers bloom. That's the explanation. In the
Now this next song you did many years later, but you always refer to it as the Song of the Imagineers, and it's from an attraction called Journey into Imagination.
Many years later, audio animatronics had come of age. They really were doing incredible things, and Tony Baxter created this wonderful line. One of our latest legends, and just today got made a legend and is going to have a window on Main Street. And anyhow, he was creating this journey into imagination. And he had a fellow called the Dream Finder and a little friend of his called Figment. Now, Figment is a figment of imagination. And we were asked to write a song that would sort of explain what this ride was going to be. It's one of a journey into imagination. And it now is like the Imagineers song, because we all have imaginations. And that's what it's all about. It takes one little spark of imagination to make wonderful things happen. And it starts like this. One little spark of inspiration is at the heart of all creation, right at the start of everything that's new. One little spark lights up for you. Imagination, a dream can be a dream come true. With just that spark for me and you.
That I know is a favorite of Marty Spar's, wherever he might be.
Marty.
And I think, why don't you just play this, because I think everybody will recognize this as well. Just an ordinary day, but once you're on your way to a place that cannot be, no one knows what turns the key. You have found 1,000 eyes, whirling images arise. For a moment they are clear in a flash.
feel, neither dreaming nor pretending, no beginning and no end.
Now, we were talking about the Tiki room having a 50th anniversary, and there's another big anniversary next year.
Oh, yeah. Pictures.
So, Richard, I mean, good grief, 50 years ago. I mean,
I look like Jason Schwartzman.
well, now let's talk about that. Now, you have an involvement in saving Mr. Banks.
Oh, yes. It's a very exciting movie. It's coming out.
And it must have been an odd experience to see your life being portrayed up on the screen by Jason Schwartzman, who plays Bob, I believe.
No,
Jason plays you, and DJ Novak plays Bob. How did that feel?
Well, it was eerie. It was kind of marvelous, too, because they're reenacting a very key moment in our lives when this rather difficult lady who created Mary Poppins, she was a brilliant writer, Miss Pamela Travers, Mrs. Pamela Travers, came to the studio. It's quite a tug of war between Walt Disney, who wanted to make the movie, and Mrs. Travers, who didn't want anybody touching her work. And it was something. Wild and I were caught in the middle of this thing, really. And Don DeGrati, the writer, with the three of us had concocted a story, a way of telling her wonderful character, giving her character a purpose, because her stories never really explained anything. Just like Mary Poppins says, I never explained anything. And Mrs. Travers never explained why the stories were there. But we sort of pieced together 6 stories and made that into one story. And we had to use Mr. Banks as the foil to have the reason why Mary Poppins comes. Mr. Banks is too busy at the bank. And I'm giving away too much of the story, but you'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see the movie.
So, one of the keynote songs for Mary Poppins is a song called A Spoonful of Sugar.
Right?
All right. And in the film, she sings it with a little bird,
Right.
and she sings it again with herself in the mirror.
Right.
And I think on this song, you might get a little help. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jason Schwartzman and DJ Novak.
You guys are really smart. You know, I saw you this morning. They were in a presentation, and you did a great job, by the way. Guys, really. But the thing is that when they did the presentation, I saw them afterwards, and I said, well, are you going to be here tonight? Because we're doing Alan and I are doing this concert. And they said, no, unfortunately, we're tied up. And I felt so bad because we never rehearsed it. This is completely oh my goodness. So what are we going to do?
Yeah, I think we should do
Should we know that one?
I know. You know? If anyone else knows it, feel free to chime in. Bring us on the chorus.
We need help, huh? In every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap the jobs again. And every task we undertake becomes a piece of cake, a lark, a spree. It's very clear to see that a spoonful of sugar
Medicine, go down. Medicine, go down. Medicine, go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful
I
way.
like this so much I want to do another verse. You guys help again. And I love the accompaniment in the audience. That's great. Robin feathering his nest has very little time to rest while gathering his bits of twine and twig. Though quite intent in his pursuit, he has a merry tune to toot. He knows a song will move the job along for a spoonful show. The movie is wonderful. They do a good job.
So that was a surprise.
I used to be that.
Yes, you did.
Once.
You didn't know about that, did you?
No, I didn't have any idea.
He didn't know about that. Honest. Just trying to keep the show fresh.
I know, my goodness, that was wonderful, a nice surprise. That was wonderful.
Well, let's jump into your Oscar-winning song, Chim Chim Chim.
I must say, real briefly, I mentioned the name Don DeGradi. Don DeGradi is an artist writer. And one day, Bob and I walked into his office. We were working on Poppins. And there was a picture in the corner of one of his storyboards. And it was just a picture of a chimney sweep walking down Cherry Tree Lane, whistling and holding his brushes over his shoulder. And we said, what is that? He said, well, in one of the chapters, there's a thing where Mary Poppins and the children are there, and she shakes hands with the sweep, and the children say, you got yourself dirty. She says, oh no, it's lovely you shake with the sweep. And we said, wow, and as an idea for a song, wow, can you get better ideas? Never. This was a great idea, so we got to write a song about that. And out came this little chimney sweep song, and it became very near and dear to us because it won the Academy Award. Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chimney, a sweep is as lucky can be. Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chimney, good luck will rub off when I shake hands with you. A kiss and nice huggy too. Now as the ladder of life has been strung, you may think the sweet's on the bottommost rung. Though I spends me time in the ashes and smoke, in this whole wide world there's no happier girl. Up with them, smoke is all bitter and curled. Between pavement and stars, that's the chimney sweep's world. And it's hardly no day and hardly no night. There's things enough in shadows and halfway in light. On the rooftops of London, cool on the side. Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chimney. When you're with a sweep, you're in my company. Nowhere is there a more happier crew than them what sings chim chim, chiree, chim chiree. Chim chimney, chim chim, chiree, chim chiree.
Richard, now let's talk about a song that I know is very near and dear to you, Feed the Birds.
Oh, thank you. There are many reasons why this is very near and dear to me, but I think the most important reason is because of the fact that it's no secret. I mean, we love Walt Disney very much, and we were very fond of him as a human being, aside from being a great boss. And when we first played our ideas for Mary Poppins for Walt Disney, we played this song among a couple of other things that we've written that we thought would work nicely for the picture. And we did a lot of talking that day. And I remember at the end of this meeting, long meeting, he said, play me that Bird Lady song again. So I played it again. And he said, that's the key to the whole story, isn't it? He said, that's right, Walt, that's it. And that's the day he put us under contract. So he did, that was the day he put us under contract to him. And 10 greatest years of my life, working for Walt Disney. Of course, we've been connected ever since, but this is his song. And I used to go to his office every once in a while. Bob and I on Friday would get a call. We come down there and we talk about what we were working on, of course. He knew what we were working on, but he still talked to us about it. And then he'd look out the north window and he'd say, at his office, and he'd say, play it. And I played it for him. Early each day to the steps of St. Paul's, the little old woman comes. In her own special way, to the people she calls, come buy my bags full of crumbs. Come feed the little birds, show them you care, and you'll be glad. their nests are so bare, all it takes is tuppence from you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries, while overhead her birds fill the sky. Around her feet, the saints and apostles look down as she sells her wings. Although you can't see it, you know they are smiling each time someone shows that he cares. Though her words are simple and few, listen, listen, she's calling to you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. How do you follow that?
Well, we could tell them what happened to us when we did that at Disneyland.
Oh, let's tell them about that. Walt's 100th birthday, it's about 12 years ago. You had produced a show, and we had a lot of Imagineers came out and did speeches and talked about the projects and things that they had created. In honor of Walt, we're dedicating the wonderful statue by Lynn Gibson of Walt and Mickey. Is that up there?
It's coming up.
Oh, there's a picture where it's the beautiful partner statue. And we were dedicating it, and I remember I was asked to do songs that were written for the park. Some of the songs were written for the park. So I played several things. And at one point, and there were 2,000 people in the street that day, in Main Street. And I was up on a riser or what, you know. At one point, I turned around, and there was Walt and Mickey right behind me. I said, folks, this next song is not for you. It's really, I'm doing it for Walt. This is his song, and I just felt like to play this for him. And I proceeded to play Feed the Birds. And I got to the very end of it, where just tuppence with a little run on the piano. And one bird out of a cloud in the sky comes swooping right down over where I was playing the piano. Right, and then off again. And there was an intake of breath. 2,000 people went like that. And then there was thunderous applause and everything. And I said, what was the gimmick? What happened? I didn't know there was a bird that came so far. And I came backstage afterwards and I said to Tim, what happened? And you told me.
I said, Walt visited us.
Walt visited us, and I thought that was a great moment. He said, thank you. I wasn't believing that it happened until I saw the videotape. And there it was, one bird flew down out of the sky. And one time you told the story, you said the bird sat on the piano and winked at me. And I said, that's going to be fun. But it did fly over, it really did. And I always feel Walt is with me, and he's with all of us, and that's the
Well, speaking of Walt, let's close out by playing out one of Walt's favorite songs. And it's a song that you wrote for Walt for an attraction that shows off Walt's great optimism.
Oh,
so
right.
let's close with that.
He was the futurist of all time, and we did a song for an attraction called Carousel of Progress. You can get a film if you like on it, but it goes something like this. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow is just a dream away. Man has a dream, and that's the start. He follows his dream with mind and heart, and when it becomes a reality, it's a dream come true for you and me. So there's a great big beautiful tomorrow, shining in the very day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, just a dream away. Hal Wilson said, "You ain't heard nothing yet. Wait till I But I'd like to just conclude with one song that kind of describes the great exuberance that I feel about being here, being part of this wonderful, wonderful organization, being part of your lives. And my brother Bob and I both thank you from the bottom of our hearts. My brother's watching from upstairs, making sure I remember these things. This is a little song we wrote that kind of describes the way we feel about the whole event. I'm in the middle of the line. Because I was a famous people, I was just a man. He thought he knows it, told me I was bad. But then when I went to work, said me if you know the people and this is how it goes. It's the anecdotes, even though the sound of it is something like it. Can anybody say it backwards? Say it, it's cool. I heard it, don't you say it, it's the tragic cat of Lucas. If you can't say it, don't bite your tongue. So when the cat has got your tongue, there's no need for it to slay. Just sum it up this word, and then you've got a lot to say. But better use it carefully, or it could save your life. When I have said to the girl, and now many girls need wife. She's supercalifragilistic, it's the anecdotes. Supercalifragilistic, it's the anecdotes. Don't you Sally, it's the supercalifragilistic, supercalifragilistic.
Now, I think Richard said it best. He quoted the great Hal Johnson and he said, "You ain't heard nothing yet." Ladies and gentlemen, Disney legend, Hayley Mills!
Wow, what an amazing tradition to be a part of. To be a part of the same company that the Sherman brothers were writing songs for, and continue to write songs for. And I got to tell you, from the time I came out to Disney, and Howard came out, nobody was sweeter or more supportive or more acknowledging of us than that wonderful man there, Richard Sherman. A mensch, little mensch. So, here's where I began at Disney. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think of the girl who has everything? Look at this trove of treasures untold. How many wonders can one cavern hold? Looking around me and think, sure, she's got everything. I got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I got who's and what's galore. You want thingamabobs? I got 20. But who cares? No big deal. I want more. I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing, walking around those, what do you call them? Oh, feet. Flipping your fins, you don't get too far. Legs are required for jumping, dancing, strolling along down, what's that word again? Street. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world. How Howard Ashman like came to Disney was actually through, I suppose, our show Little Shop of Horrors. That little off-Broadway show about man-eating plant. And, you know, after the success of Little Shop, Howard and I kind of went our separate ways for a bit. Not, I think, between us, because we continued to write together. But he was working on a show with Marvin Hamish called Smile. And I was working with a man named Tom Ian, who wrote Dreamgirls, on a show called Kicks, the show musical. And so for me, you know, kind of the headline of the whole thing was, I'm getting back together with Howard. And in a way, you know, Little Mermaid is our follow-up to Little Shop of Horrors. The seaweed is always greener in somebody else's lake. You dream about going up there, but that is a big mistake. Just look at the world around you, and here on the ocean floor, such wonderful things around you. But more is you're looking for under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better than where it's weather. Take it from me. Up on the shore they work all day, out in the sun they slip away, while we give up full time to float under the sea. I admit that in the past I've been nasty. They were kidding when they called me well, which to find it nowadays I've mended all my ways. Repented, seen the light and made a switch. True, yes. And I fortunately know a little magic. It's a talent that I always have possessed. And here lately, please don't laugh. I use it on behalf of the miserable, lonely, and depressed, pathetic, poor, unfortunate souls in pain, in need. Is one longing to be fitter than one wants to get the girl. Do I help them? Yes, indeed. Those poor, unfortunate souls, so sad, so true. They can flock into my culture, drawing spells or so please that I help them. Yes, I do. Les poissons, and serve little fish. First I cut off their heads, and I put on some bones on their wings. I'll say toujours the dish. Les poissons, hi hi ha. always see her sitting there across the way. She don't got a lot to say, but there's something about her. And you don't know why, but you're dying to try to wanna kiss her. Yes, you want her. Look at her, you know you do. Possible she wants you to. There is one way to ask her. It don't take a word, not a single word. Go on and kiss the girl. Sha-la-la-la-la, don't be scared. You got the mood prepared. Go on and kiss the girl. Sha-la-la-la-la, don't stop now. Don't try to hide it how you wanna kiss the girl. Sha-la-la-la-la, float along and listen to this song. The song said kiss the girl. Sha-la-la-la, the music played. Do what the music say. Go on and kiss the girl. You gotta kiss the girl. You wanna kiss the girl. Put together a lot of stuff for you guys. Some you know, and some you don't know. So, Little Mermaid became a Broadway show. I should say, first of all, let's talk about the Oscars, shall we? That was amazing. You know, we won 2 Oscars for Little Mermaid, for Best Score and for Best Song for Under the Sea. And it's an amazing experience. Howard Ashman and I looked at them once before, which was for Mean Green Mother from Outer Space from Little Shop of Horrors. And I remember going to I think it was the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, and, you know, sitting in this seat in the middle of a row, you know, and it just seemed enormous. It seemed this big, and this, of course this is bigger, but it seemed like it was just immense. And Levi Stubbs came out and sang Mean Green Mother from Outer Space and brought the house down. And I turned to Howard and said, oh my God, I mean, if we win, he said, you can relax, you're not getting any awards tonight. But a few years later, we were there for Little Mermaid, the seat right there on the aisle. So for the Broadway show Little Mermaid, which is also, by the way, it's playing now all over the world. It is a fabulous production in Russia and an amazing production in Tokyo. And so my friends from Tokyo are here tonight, I know. We have a lot of new songs by my collaborator, one of my collaborators, wonderful lyricist named Glenn Slater. So here's some songs you may or may not know from the Broadway show, stage musical Little Mermaid. First song for Ariel's unspoken message to Eric. In Act 2, she's lost her voice and she can't speak, but we hear her sing her inner thoughts. If only you could know the things I long to say. If only I could tell you what I wish I could convey. It's in my every glance, my heart's an open book. You'd see it all at once, if only you would look. All my secrets, you'd learn them. All my longings, you'd return them. Then the silence would be broken. Not a word would need be spoken. And there's the moment when her sisters, Ariel's sisters, and Flounder notice that she's in love. She's dizzy and she's dreamy, her head's up in the phone, her eyes are gone away, it's like there's no one home. She throws away the dates, open on the coastal shelf. Is she ill or insane? Is it water on the brain? What has got her bothered so? It's the bends, it's the flu, God, I wish we had a clue. Oh wait, oh dear, good grief, it's clear she's in love. turned him into a three-dimensional character. Where did she go? Where could she be? When will she come again? Calling to me, calling to me, calling to me. Somewhere there's a girl who's like the shimmer of the wind upon the water. Somewhere there's a girl who's like the glimmer of the sunlight on the sea. Somewhere there's a girl who's like a swell of endless music. Somewhere she is singing and her song is meant for me. And her voice, it's sweet as angels sighing. And her voice, it's warm as summer sky. And that sound, it haunts my dreams, spins me round until it seems flying. Her voice. Strange as a dream, real as the sea. If you can hear me now, come set me free. Come set me So, our animated musical after Little Mermaid, of course, was Winnie. And in many ways, we got more ambitious with beauty. And Howard and I, we wrote this opening number. And, you know, it was 7 minutes long, and it started. First, it came out as a prologue, and then it's Belle's cottage. And then she comes out of her cottage, and she's talking about this little provincial town, and she walks into the town, and the people are coming out of the windows, and they're saying, you know, bonjour, bonjour, and she's so unusual, isn't she? And she goes to the bookstore, and then she talks about it, isn't it amazing? She's looking at her book, and then there's Gaston, and Gaston, you know, crush on her, and then there's counter melodies, and there's all this stuff going on. And I remember Howard saying, we can't send this to them. Who asked for a 7-minute opening number? I'm gonna hate it. And of course it worked out okay. There goes the baker with his tray like always, the same old bread and rolls to sell. Every morning just the same, since the morning that we came to the poor provincial town of Morning Bell. Oh, isn't this amazing? It's my favorite part, because you'll see, here's where she meets Prince Charming, but she won't discover that it's him till chapter 3. Now it's no wonder that her name means beauty, her looks have got no parallel. But beyond the fair facade, I'm afraid she's rather odd, very different from the rest of us. She's nothing like the rest of us, she's different from the rest of us. Here's Belle. No one's slick as Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston, no one's next as incredibly thick as Gaston, but there's no man in town half as manly. Perfect or pure paragon. You're gonna ask any Tom, Dick, or Stanley, and they'll tell you whose team they prefer to be on. No one's been like Gaston, a kingpin like Gaston. No one's got a swell clamped in his chin like Gaston. As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidating. I would have got that Gaston. I guess, but I serve to the test. little scared, neither one prepared. Beauty and the Beast, ever just the same, ever a surprise, ever as before, ever just as sure as the sun will rise. Tale as old as time, tune as old as song, bittersweet and strange, finding you can change, learning you were wrong. Certain as the sun, rising in the east, tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast. Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast. I got a lot of songs to play. I gotta keep them coming. Okay. So the first of actually the Disney shows to come to Broadway was Beauty and the Beast. And, I remember being kind of concerned when I heard about that, and I was told that we're doing Broadway. I thought, oh, what is a Disney musical going to be like? You know, is it going to be art shows, or are we going to have like foam heads? I mean, there's nothing wrong with those, by the way. Give me a little laugh on that. But it was so much more than that. And it was Rob Roth, this young director, put together a wonderful team of designers, and Tim Rice of you can know him, of course, from so many projects. I had known him from his work with Andrew Lloyd Webber, and he's somebody I was thrilled to work with him. So he came aboard. And I should, of course, say that Howard Ashman had passed away by this time. And one of the great things that we got to get in this musical was, first of all, to take a lost Ashman and Menken song and resurrect it and put it into a musical. It's a song we wrote for the movie called Human Again. And it traced, you know, as the characters, as the objects, see Belle and the Beast falling in love, and thinking, I think this hope to be human again. And days pass, and weeks pass, and months pass, and you see them, they're getting closer and closer, and seasons are passing. And the only one problem is that prior to the song, Maurice was in the woods, and apparently Maurice had been lying in the woods the whole time. So, so we had logistical issues about that in the movie. But for the show, we actually figured it out and made some changes, and we were able to get that song to the show. And then there's a song that Tim Rice and I wrote for the Beast. And again, you know, like with Prince Eric in the Broadway show Little Mermaid, to be able to get the Beast to sing is so important. So, I don't know if we've performed this on the public before. It's a little rigorous. Let's see how I can do this. I'll be cooking again, good looking again, with a mademoiselle on each arm. When I'm human again, only human again, or is it polished and gleaming with charm? I'll be courting again, she is sporting again, which should cost several husbands alarm. I'll hop down on the shelf, and to sweet me myself, I can't wait to be you again. When we're human again, only human again, when we're knickknacks and whatnots no more. Little push, little shove, they can whoosh, fall in love, our chérie,
one in all the top drawer. I'll wear lipstick and rouge, and I won't be so huge. I'll easily fit through that door. I'll exude several fair, I'll wear gowns, I'll have Harris might wear the human again. When I'm human again, only human again, when the world was first making sense, I'll unwind for a change. It has to be strange. Can I help it if I'm tense? In a shack by the sea, I'll sit back sipping gin, let my early retirement commence. Far from fools made of wax, I'll get down to brass tacks and relax when I'm human again. So sweep the dust from the floor, let's let some light in the room. I can feel, I can tell someone might break the spell any day now. Shine up the brass on the door, alert the dust pail and broom. If it all goes as planned, our time may be at hand any day now. Open the shutters and let in some air. Put these here and put those over there. Sweep up the years of sadness and tears and show them away. When we're human again, only human again. When the girl finally sets us all free, she said, "Love it again, we're assuming again, we'll resume our lost quality. We'll be playing again, holidaying again, and we're praying it's ASAP. When we cast off this pall, was that straight or tall, and we're all what we were, that the head next to her coming closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and we'll be dancing again, we'll be whirling again, we'll be whirling around with Versace's. When we're human again, only human again, we'll go walking those all 1, 2, 3s. We'll be floating again, we'll be gliding again, stepping straight in the sky as you please, like a real human does. I'll be all that I was on that glorious morn when we're finally reborn, and we're all human again. And in my twisted face, there's not the slightest trace of anything that even hints at kindness. And from my tortured shame, no comfort, no escape. I see but deep within his utter blindness, hopeless. As my dream dies, as time flies, love a lost illusion, helpless, unforgiven, cold and driven to this sad conclusion. No beauty could move me, no goodness improve me, no power on earth if I can't love her. No passion could reach me, no lesson could teach me how I could have loved her and made her love me too. If I can't love her, long ago I should have seen all the things I could have been. Careless that I'm thinking, I moved onward. that is take the cycle one doing. Aladdin. So, wow, what a path for Aladdin. We started Aladdin pretty much the same time as Little Mermaid. And it went through a lot of changes. Our original version of Aladdin, which is actually very, some of these things are reflected in what we are doing now in the stage adaptation of Aladdin, we'll talk about later. But Aladdin had 3 sidekicks, Cat, Aurora, and the Scene. Aladdin had a mother, immaculate. When those changes happened, Howard, again, unfortunately was gone. And Tim Rice, who wrote that last lyric for Beauty and the Beast, came and helped me produce the score for Aladdin. So here's a couple things from Aladdin. Oh, I come from a land, from a faraway place, where the caravan camels roam, where it's flat and immense and the heat is intense, it's barbaric, but hey, it's home. When the wind's from the east and the sun's from the west and the sand and the glass is right, come on down, come on in, let the magic begin. Another Arabian night, Arabian nights, like Arabian days, more often than not, hotter than in a lot of good ways. Arabian nights, like Arabian moons, a fool off his guard, falling ball hard out there on the dunes. One jump, head the red line, one swing, and the sword. I steal only what I can afford. That's everything. One jump, head the lawman. That's all, and that's no joke. These guys don't wish I'm broke. With rap, street rap, scoundrel, take that. Just a little snap, guys. Rip him open, take it back, guys. I'm gonna hit, gotta face the facts. You're my friend, I'm Pooh. Riff raff, street rap, I won't buy that. If only they were closer, would they see a poor boy? No, sweet. They find out there's so much more to me. Wow! Oh, wow! Yeah! What happened about had 1040 feet? I was on the 1,000 days. Mister, you and luck calls up your sleeve. You got a black magic never fails. You got some power in your corner now, some heavy ammunition in your camp. You got some punch possess, yeah, open that house. Yeah, all you gotta do is go back later. Then I'll say, Mr. Aladdin, what will your pleasure be? Everything you're on a child, you ain't never had a friend like me. No. Life is your restaurant, and I'm your major D. I love my job, you did it, mom. You ain't never had a friend like me. Wow! Oh no! Wow! Wow! Yeah! You ain't never had a friend, you ain't never had a friend like me. Poured up my head. There's so many stories to tell about all these movies and all these shows, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I chose to play a lot of songs. So, when I'm talking about the amazing Robin Williams and the amazing Angela Lansbury and Jerry Orbach for Beauty, and for all these people and all these experiences we had. For me, those 3 projects, the essence, it was Howard Ashman.
and how it we all know it was gone too soon. Brilliant guy, very collaborative, wonderful friend. And so somewhere in there, amongst all these other projects, I had a big fat flop movie. It's this movie, Newsboys. Nobody wanted to see it. It was like, I think it 2.6 million at the box office, which is kind of like nothing. I remember sitting with Jeffrey Katzenberg, because they were pulling ads and saying, Jeffrey, it's a good movie. He said, Menken, I can take $10 million and throw it up in the air here at Tahiti Boulevard and it'll be just as much good. It's DOA, and it was. He's right. It was DOA. I wrote that with Jack Feldman. Jack actually was one of the writers of Copacabana with Barry Manilow, and I knew him for years before. But anyway, we accepted the fact that he got wrong. And then, guess what? Crazy, huh? Crazy. It's the generation just would not let go of it. And, they're playing camps, and I'd walk into a mall, there'd be a flash mob doing seeds a day. What's going on? And Tom Schumacher noticed, very smartly noticed, and he said, we're not going to make this a Broadway show, it's not that crazy. But we'll put out stock in action. So at least we'll have a version that go around the country. Well, make a long story short, did our work. Fourth name Harvey Firestein came along and helped us out. It's on Broadway now. Try Popple Alley or the Hub. Try Central Park, it's guaranteed. Try any banker, bumble barber. They almost all knows how to read. I smell money, you smell foul. And this is my last night. Move your elbow past the towel for a Buckeye night. They did a fine life, carrying the banner through it all. A mighty fine life, carrying the banner through it all. Every morning, we go where we wishes, ease as free as fishes, sure we wash our dishes, what a fine life, carrying the banner over it all. Shoes with matching laces, permanent box and sheets and braces, porcelain tub with boiling water, Saturday night with the mayor's daughter. Look at me, I'm the king of New York. And suddenly, I'm respectable, stare right at you, lousy with stature. I'm in with all the marketing marks, I'm blowing my dough and go with the lumps. And there I be, ain't I pretty, it's my city, I'm the king of New York. They say folks are dying again. Me, I'm dying to get away to a little town out west that's spanking new. And while I ain't never been there, I can see it clear as day. If you want, I bet you can see it too. Close your eyes. Come with me, where it's green and pretty, and they're ready to make a city out of clay. But the minute that you get there, folks will walk right up and say, welcome home, son, welcome home to Santa Fe. Letting crops, split rails, back tails around the fire, except for Sunday when you lie around all day. So your friends are more like family, and they're begging you to stay. Ain't that neat? Living sweet in Santa Fe.
I let you down, no way. Just hold on, kid, till that train makes Santa Fe. Pocahontas. Well, first of all, I mean, Pocahontas is my first project working with Stephen Schwartz. Stephen was an amazing both composer and lyricist. He wrote Godspell. He wrote Godspell, Pippin, Magic Show. Afterward, he wrote Wicked. I like to get this because of work with him. You know, I can play some songs of Pocahontas. I just have a song here that was a cut song that never got in. Would you like to hear it? Okay. Steve does a lot of research. She tends to really do that. And so this song has a lot of Indian language in it. So you may see me stumbling pitifully over some of the phrases. Here's some things. And then some songs you know. Actually, no. Cut song, a song that was cut from the movie and then made back in when it was released. And another song that you know big well. When the land is full of anger, when the fists of hate are shook, when there is no common ground to be found, where to look? Nakusawati Gea, no one took, no one took. Nakusawati Gea, no one took, no one took. We will live in the middle of a river. We will hide in the heart of a cloud. That's the place where we could be together. We'll be there somehow. I would sail to the sources of the ocean. I would climb to the foot of the stars. That's what it takes for us to be together. We will live in the middle of the river. If I never knew you, if I never felt this love, I would have no inkling of how precious life can be. And if I never held you, I would never have a clue how at last I find in you the missing part of me. In this world so full of fear, full of rage and lies, I can see the truth so clear in your eyes. So dry your eyes. And I am so grateful to you. I have lived my whole life through lost forever. If I never knew you. You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a bit that you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a soul, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the wind about yet why he grinned? And you sing with all the voices of the mountain, and you beg with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll deserve until you can paint with all the colors of the rain. Actually I won 7 to 8 Oscars for that. And those years were incredible. I actually thought they gave out Oscars in pairs. Worked with Mermaid too, then the Year of Beauty, there was Best Score and Beauty and the Beast. And when I went backstage, by the way, a Razzie. Yeah. That's the worst song of the year for High Times, Hard Times from movies. I liked it. I loved it. I just wish that sort of a Razzie. I don't know what would a Razzie statue look like. And then for Aladdin, we won Best Score and Best Song for a song I played with the winner. And we won, Grammys during those years, and Golden Globes. And then came this movie, Hunchback of Notre Dame. I think the expiration date on that whole thing, or something. Morning in Paris, the city awakes to the bells of Notre Dame. Fish and fishes, the baker and bakes to the bells of Notre Dame. To the big bells as loud as the thunder, to the little bells soft as the sun. And some to the soul of the cities, the toll of the bells of Notre Dame. God help the outcasts, hungry from birth. Show them the mercy don't find on earth. God help my people, they look to you still. God help the outcasts, nobody will. Safe behind these windows and these parapets of stone, gazing at the people down below me. All my life I watch them as they hide out here alone, hungry for the histories they show me. All my life I memorize their faces, knowing them as they will never know me. All my life I wonder how it feels to pass the day and above them, a part of them. And out there, living in the sun, give me one day out there. All I ask is one to hold forever. Out there where they all live on, where would I give what I dare, just to live one day out there. Out there among the millers and the weavers and their wives, through the roofs and gables I can see The chaos reigned and earthquakes and volcanoes never slept. And then along came Zeus, thunderbolts, and zapped all those suckers in a bolt, traveling on his own, stopped chaos in its tracks. And that's the gospel, the parables, two-time made of just relax. And that's the world's first dish. So take the globe while still in its youth. Though honey, it may seem impossible, that's the gospel truth. Bless my soul, her was on a roll, person on the wing and every ring opinion gold. What a pro, her it's not a show, calling a man a monster and you're talking SRO. He was a no one, a zero, now he's a hot show. He's a hero, he was a kid with his act on back. Till the hero, no time flat, till the hero, just like that. Of a far-off place where a hero's welcome will be waiting for me, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, "This is where we're meant to be." I will find my way. I can go the distance. I'll be there someday. If I can be strong, I know every mile will be worth my while. When I go the distance, I'll be right where I So I'll never forget, I had a dinner with Peter Schneider and Tom Schumacher. They took me out to dinner to talk to me about my next project. You know, and I've written projects, I've written, animated films for princesses, and I've written animated films for Greek gods. And Tom said, and Peter said, I think we're going to write one for cows. You know, it was called Sweating Bullets, and then it became Home on the Range. Again, I worked with Glenn Slater. Not many people saw it. I think it's worth seeing, right? And I was the greatest thing about it, first of all, the cattle drive. Let's talk about the cattle drive. I got to go on a authentic 19th century cattle drive. No electricity, sleeping on the ground. This was our research. And you haven't lived until you've seen a bunch of animators on a cattle drive. And I got to work with really amazing artists like Katie Lang. I know a place, pretty as pie, out where the riverbed is up at the end of the sky. It's left to Nebraska and over a crest on a little patch of heaven with out west. Everything's green, know what I mean? Darling, it's quite the sweetest sight that you ever done seen. Ain't nothing much out there, just like at its best on that little patch of heaven well west. Then, of course, the other memories I have, besides Tom Schumacher and his white fuzzy chaps, which is delightful to see, was I got to write a song, a yodeling song. You see, I yodel, as sweet as when I rustling the enterprise. But when I yodel, well, we have the cows get hypnotized. He don't prod, he don't yell, still he drives the doggies well. Which ain't easy when your chaps are labeled XXXXL. Yes, if
some other song in a movie about cows did it for me. Rain is pouring down like the heavens have heard. Seems like it's been dark since the devil was with. How do you go on, never knowing for certain? Will the sun ever shine again? Feels like it's been years since it started to thunder. Clouds are camping out in the valley and glen. How do you go on when you can't help but wonder? Will the sun ever shine again? What if the rain keeps falling? What if the sky stays gray? What if the winds keep squalling and never go away? Maybe soon the storm will be time to grow. Maybe soon it all will be over, amen. How do you go on if there's no way to know? Will the sun ever shine? Wish I could say, send me a sign, one little ray. Lord, if you're listening, hello until then. Will the sun ever shine again? Right. Enchanted. You know, sometimes projects are in this sort of development phase, or they go on for years. I had heard about this project. It sounded great. You know, I was salivating. I wanted hopefully be a part of it. And actually, one of the original concepts was, I think, to do parodies of Howard's and my songs, and also other kind of Disney songs. So I'm very pleased that I got hired to parody my own songs. And some other ones. Or I should say pastiche. Pastiche and parody. Look them up, look at the dictionary, there must be a difference. But we went through so many writers and directors, and somehow it just kept being delayed. And I guess maybe it was fate, because when we finally did do it, it was Stephen Schwartz as the lyricist and Kevin Lehman directing. It was just in time for this young actress named Amy Adams to come in. When you meet someone who was meant for you, for two can become one, there's something we must do. You pull each other's hands, you feed each other's seeds. No, there is something sweeter everybody needs. I've been dreaming of a true love's kiss, and a prince I'm hoping comes with this. That's what brings ever after rings, so happy. And that's the reason we need them so much, for lips are the only things that touch. So to spend a life of endless bliss, just find who you love through true loves. Come on, little friends, as we all sing a happy little working song. Every little voice is clear and strong. Come and roll your sleeves up, so to speak, in the chin. Cleaning from up in the kitchen as we sing along. Drill a cheery tune in the stuff as we scrub us up with mildew stain. Look a hero from the shower drain to the gay refrain of a happy working song. Ah, a happy working song. I don't know what it is about Disney and cleaning. We opened this up. The next movie I worked on involved a lot of cleaning too. And that project was Tangled. And like Enchanted, I mean, it was a ground for part of it. In fact, I heard that actually Rapunzel that John Lasseter asked me to come and work on Tangled. And it's the first CGI animated musical. It's 3D. And I found out that it's also the most popular princess, I'm told, that Rapunzel actually is. And it's an amazing thing. Glenn Slater with the lyrics on this movie. Chores to sweep till the floor's all clean. Polish and wax, do laundry and mop and shine up. Sweep again, and by then it's like 7:15. And so I'll read a book, or maybe 2 or 3. I'll add a few new paintings to my gallery. I'll play guitar and knit and cook, and basically just wonder when will my life begin. Tomorrow night lights will appear, just like they do on my birthday each year. What is it like out there where they glow? Now that I'm old, Mother might just let me go. Mother knows best. Listen to your mother, it's a scary world out there. Mother knows best, one way or another, something will go wrong. I swear, rubbing stunts, poison ivy, quicksand, cannibals, and slates, the plague. Also large bugs, and the pointy stakes. And stop no more, you'll just upset me. Mama's right here, Mama will protect you. Darling is what I suggest. Skip the drama, stay with Mama. Mother knows I'm malicious, mean, and scary. Scared to gurgle dairy. My hands are not the cleanest, but despite my evil look and my temper and my hope, I've always learned to be a concert pianist. And you see me on the stage performing Mozart, tickling the eyes till they gleam. Yep, I got me called deadly for my killer show too deadly. Thank you! Good night, down deep inside, I got a dream. I got a dream. I got a dream. See, I ain't as good at dishes as I say. Though I do like making favors, you can help me with the dreamers. Like everybody else, I got a dream. All those days watching from the windows, all those years outside looking in, all that time never even knowing just how blind I've been. Now I'm here blinking in the starlight. Now I'm here suddenly standing here, it's oh so clear where I'm meant to be. And at last I see the light, and it's like the sky is shifting. And at last I see the light, and it's like the world is new. And it's warm and really bright, and the fog at last has lifted. All at once, everything looks different. Now that I see you. Now that I see you. I'm looking at the time, I don't know. So, these are 2 little quirky things. First of all, a snippet from a song I wrote for Captain America. If Disney acquired Marvel, I was asked if I could write a song for this Bond drive, Captain America, and it was in the style of kind of urban urban patriotic song. Again, with David Zimmel, little snippet of a song called Star Spangled Dan Fogelman, who wrote the book for book for Tango, created a series on ABC called The Neighbors. Anybody know The Neighbors? And he asked if Glenn and I would write a song for the musical episode for the show. And in The Neighbors, basically, for those who don't know the premise, this family moves to a very nice condominium community, and everything's perfect, and they love it, except the neighbors are very strange. They're really strange people. It turns out, of course, the neighbors are actually aliens in human form. And in this episode, the aliens, they're clueless. They're clueless about our planet. And they go off to see a Broadway show. They sneak off to see a Broadway show. And they come back all enamored with Broadway. And they want to know what are the other things they can learn about the planet, given that now they've experienced the Broadway show. They think they are the best thing our planet has to offer. I'm really pleased. I was nominated for an Emmy for this song. Glenn and I were. And if we win, then I actually become an EGOT. I forgot to mention, I won a Tony for music, which is a thrill. But actually, as my agent pointed out, actually I would be the very first REGOT, because I've been asked to do it. There's so much out there we should know, and yet you never let us go. If we could do things, expanding new things. Oh, I should add one thing. Sorry. The model. See if you can guess the model for what this song is. I think you will once you get the fan. There's so much out there we should know, and yet you never let us go. If we could do things, expanding new things, life would be big, bold, and bright as a Broadway show. Got it? I want to get a circumcision. I want to hitchhike to LA. Drinking in dive bars, I give it 5 stars, more or less like what you probably see on Broadway. I want to use a public restroom and try all 50 shades of gray. With some thumbs up, and do the thumbs up, similar to the kind of thing you might see on Broadway. I want to do a tap dance at the local DMV. I want to give a lap dance to a Starbucks employee. I want to take you a bus for 2 or 3. I want to smack the entire cast of Glee. I want to do a dream ballet. Should you ignore us, land a chorus, and perform a kick, what do you say? Life can be as wonderful, magical, adjectives, swell, as something you may or may not possibly see on Broadway. Please let us go and try new things today. Make our lives as fabulous as Broadway. So Aladdin is coming to Broadway. I'm really so excited because first of all, we've been able to get in so many of the songs that Howard, Ashman, and I originally wrote for Aladdin that weren't able to make it. And it's the same story you know, but it has a little twist to it in that Aladdin's sidekicks, Babcock the scene, kind of help narrate, like a Hope Crosby road picture kind of element. It's really fun. Still no mother. But it sings to her in head. Anyway, here's a song for the moment when the genie, genie saves Aladdin again, and he said, and Aladdin had promised, my 3rd wish, I'm going to free you. And so genie says, Aladdin,
So this is going to be as subtle as a forest fire. Have you two ever written a song about the world?
The world.
I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, when did you last let your heart decide? I can open your eyes, take me wonder by wonder, over sideways and under, on a magic carpet ride, a whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. No one to tell us no, or where to go, say we're only dreaming, a whole new world, a dazzling place I never knew. But now from way up here, it's crystal clear. Now I'm in a whole new world with you. Unbelievable sights, indescribable feeling, soaring, tumbling, freewheeling through an endless diamond sky. A whole new world, 100,000 things to see. I'm like a shooting star, I've come so far from where I used to be. A whole new world, with new horizons to pursue. I'll chase them anywhere, it's time to spare. Let me share this whole new world with you. A whole new world, that's where we'll be. The thrill and chase, a wondrous place for you and me.
Go ahead, Richard. I think you have a song for us.
Well, yeah, I'm going to play a song that I've been told I can either be kissed or killed for having written this. And way ahead of me, I know. But Bob and I wrote this thing, and I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, if you would be so kind. I don't have two heads, and this was written as a counterpoint, you know, so that the two melodies go at the same time. You've heard of those things. And I was just hoping that when I finished doing the first part, if you would help me. These people don't know this song